There is a Japan that is not illuminated by neon lights. It doesn't begin with the sound of a train rushing through a station. It doesn't open with the brightly lit intersections of Tokyo, nor does it emerge through the bustling, tourist-filled streets of Kyoto. It lies deeper, nestled in the mountains of Shikoku, where mist drifts slowly across the forest slopes, where narrow paths wind along cliffs, and where a suspension bridge still sways silently over the emerald green river. Each step on that bridge had its own unique sound. The old wood creaked softly underfoot. Vines stretched taut in the wind. Water flowed deep below. And in that vast expanse, humanity suddenly felt strangely small. There are no massive concrete structures, no sturdy steel railings, no sense of absolute security like in the modern world. Just intertwined vines, wooden planks spaced just enough for one to see the river below, and a very ancient feeling. The feeling that to cross from one side to the other, one once had to truly believe in the bridge beneath their feet. This is Iya Valley. A valley nestled deep in the Japanese mountains, once far from major roads, once difficult to access, once a place where time seemed to slow down compared to the rest of the country. Today, people come here to see a different Japan, a Japan hidden behind mountains, behind mist, behind old rooftops and stilt bridges that were once the lifeline of an entire rugged region. But before it became an icon of hidden Japan, before it appeared in travel photos, before outsiders sought it out to experience that fragile feeling, these bridges once held a much simpler, deeper, and more survival-oriented meaning. They used to be the way people clung to the valley. And the story of Iya Valley begins at that very moment, when a foot is placed on the vine-covered bridge and the entire past of a mountainous region gently stirs beneath the foot of the passerby. If Japan, in the imagination of many, is a picture of brightly lit cities, trains that arrive on time to the minute, bustling streets, and glass-covered skyscrapers, then Iya Valley lies almost the opposite of that image. It's not noisy. No need to rush. Don't try to impress with modernity. Iya Valley lies deep in the mountains of Shikoku Island, Tokushima Prefecture, a place where the roads don't open up into wide avenues, but rather into narrow, winding paths clinging to the cliffs, stretches shrouded in mist, and valleys so deep that simply looking down reveals how small humans are in comparison to the vast landscape. Here, mountains are more than just scenery. Mountains are a wall. They are a shelter. They are a boundary. They shape how people travel, build houses, cultivate crops, meet and leave. The turquoise river flowing at the bottom of the valley not only enhances the scenery, it also served as a dividing line. On one side of the river was a mountainside, on the other, a different path, a different house, a different way of life. And to bridge those gaps, people needed bridges. These aren't the large concrete bridges of modern Japan. Instead, they are bridges made of vines, woven from materials found in the mountains and forests themselves, stretched across deep gorges like a thin thread through the vastness of nature. Iya Valley, therefore, is unlike any ordinary destination. It's like a small door opening into another layer of Japanese memory, where speed slows, sounds are quieter, and old roofs cling to the mountainside as if they've learned to survive the steepness over generations. In Tokyo, time is determined by streetlights and train schedules. In Kyoto, time is preserved within temples, old streets, and rituals. But in Iya Valley, time seems to cling to the old wood, to the mountain mist, to the smoke from the kitchen fires, to the sound of water flowing in the valley floor, and to the vines that once supported human footsteps in this inaccessible land. That's why this place is called part of hidden Japan. Not because it's completely disappeared from the map, but because it reminds people that even in a country known for its speed and order, there are still places that live at a different pace. Places that don't reveal themselves immediately. These are places you have to go deep into the mountains to find. And the deeper we went into the Iya Valley, the clearer the question became. Why did humans once choose to settle in such an inaccessible place? People don't choose to live everywhere just because it's easy. There are flat areas of land, close to the sea, near main roads, near markets, and near trade routes. In those places, building houses, farming, traveling, and exchanging with the outside world seems more natural. But there are also places where it's completely the opposite. Places surrounded by mountains, places with winding roads, harsh winters, deep rivers that divide the land, and where every departure from the village could have been a real journey. Iya Valley belongs to that type of place. To understand this valley, one cannot simply view it as a beautiful landscape, nor can one see the stilt bridges merely as a strange detail for photographs. The question must be asked in reverse. If this place was once so difficult to access, if the roads were so few, if the terrain made every distance seem longer than usual, then what kept people here? Perhaps the answer lies not just in convenience. It is under protection. In a remote mountainous region, isolation can be a challenge, but in turbulent periods of history, isolation can also become a refuge. Mountain ranges may separate people from commerce, from cities, from the outside world. But those same mountains can also protect a community from the upheavals that flat land cannot avoid. And once a family has built a home here, once a generation has learned to cross the river, climb the slopes, build fires in the cold, and cultivate small plots of land, the valley is no longer just a geographical feature. It became its home. A place that's difficult to live in can become a place that's hard to leave. That is the deepest paradox of the Iya Valley. It was once forgotten by time, not only because of its remoteness, but because this place lived by a different logic. Here, people didn't impose themselves on the mountains. They learned to navigate around the mountains, build houses along the slopes, connect villages with fragile bridges, and accept that life doesn't always need to be faster to be more meaningful. So the central question of this story isn't simply, how beautiful is Iya Valley? Instead, it is, when a place once thrived in isolation, what happens when the world starts seeking it out? And before answering that question, we must return to the most striking symbol of this valley, the vine bridges, where each vine not only holds a bridge, but also preserves the memory of how people once lived deep in the mountains. In Iya Valley, the bridge is more than just a structure. It is an answer. One answer lies in the deep mountains, rushing rivers, cliffs, dense forests, and villages that were once not far apart in distance, but were very difficult to access. When looking at a stilt bridge spanning a valley, the first thing one usually notices is its fragility. The ropes are interwoven, the wooden planks are spaced apart. The turquoise river flows beneath, and the entire bridge gently sways with each step. It doesn't feel as solid as a steel bridge. It doesn't make people forget about the depths below. Conversely, it forces passers-by to be acutely aware that they are in the midst of open space. Each step is a cautious one. Each glance down is a reminder that nature here is never entirely under control. But that's precisely what makes the suspension bridge in Iya Valley so special. Before becoming a symbol of hidden Japan, it was a very practical necessity. In a valley crisscrossed by deep rivers and steep mountains, the bridge was how people connected the disparate parts of life. One bank of the river could be a home. The other bank could be a field, a road, another village, a place needed when the seasons changed, or when one family needed to meet another. For outsiders, the bridge might be an experience. For those who once lived in that area, the bridge was a continuation of their daily lives. It connects children's footsteps to a road, connects adults to work, connects roofs to one another, connects small communities separated by mountains and water. And in times when modern roads had not yet reached deep into the valley, the suspension bridge not only helped people cross a river, it helped them cling to the place they called home. That's why the image of the bridge in Iya Valley carries more weight than just a beautiful scene. It embodies two eras. In an old era, people had to use materials from the mountains and forests to overcome the barriers of the mountains and forests. And in a new era, that very bridge has become a symbol for those from outside seeking a quieter, more ancient, less modernized Japan. Today, some people walk onto the bridge to experience the thrill. Others stop in the middle of the bridge to look down at the river. Some take a picture and call it the beauty of hidden Japan. But if you stand a little longer, if you listen to the sound of vines taut in the wind, the creaking of old wood underfoot, the murmur of the deep water below, you can sense something different. This bridge was never designed to be romantic. It was created because people needed to pass through it. And sometimes, it is the things born from the need for survival that become the most beautiful symbols of a land, because they bear the clearest traces of adaptation, patience, and the way people learn to live together in a place that is not easy. In Iya Valley, the suspension bridge doesn't just transport people from one bank to the other. It takes the viewer from the surface of the beautiful scenery into the depths of memory. If vine-covered bridges symbolize how humans overcome division, then the village of Ochiai is the clearest image of how humans have learned to live with the slopes. Here, the village is not situated on a large, flat area. It clung to the side of the mountain. The houses are scattered along the slope, upper floors overlooking lower ones, one roof lower than the road, and the entire village seems to have been built with patience spanning generations. There is no sense that humans have leveled nature to create living space. On the contrary, everything seems to have been placed very carefully, as if each roof had to ask permission from the mountainside before existing there. In Ochiai, a house is more than just a place to shelter from the rain. It is an agreement between humans and the landscape. Roofs slope down to the mountainside. A narrow path winds along the steep cliff. Stairs leading from one house to another connect not only spaces, but also rhythms of life accustomed to daily ups and downs. For city dwellers, a slope might just be a tiring stretch of road. But in a village like Ochiai, the slope is a part of life. It dictates how people walk, how they carry their belongings, how a morning begins, and how a day ends. From a distance, Ochiai doesn't look like a planned residential area. It's like a memory clinging to a mountain. The old roofs, the dark wood, the narrow paths, the small gardens nestled on the slopes, all create the feeling that the people here are not trying to separate themselves from nature. They live in the form that nature allows. And that's what gives the village its unique beauty. It's not perfect in the sense of being clean, new, or symmetrical. Rather, it's beautiful because it's real. Beautiful because every detail evokes a life that once unfolded there. A door opening in the morning, a wisp of smoke rising from a kitchen chimney in the mist, an old person walking slowly down a sloping road, a roof repaired to withstand the rainy season, a small courtyard just big enough to dry a few necessities. Ochiai makes one understand that Iya Valley is not solely defined by its landscape. It is made up of very small ways of living. Because of those who learned to build houses on the mountainside instead of abandoning it. Because of families who became accustomed to the road home never being perfectly smooth. Because of generations who looked down into the valley every day, saw the river, the mist, the mountains, and called all of that their homeland. In a world increasingly focused on convenience, Ochiai serves as a quiet reminder that some communities have survived not because of ease, but because of their ability to adapt. They didn't turn the mountains into cities. They turned the hillside into their homes. And in the Iya Valley, sometimes just seeing a village clinging to a hillside is enough to understand that human life doesn't always need flat ground to begin. In Iya Valley, quiet life unfolds before the camera's lens. It doesn't appear in grand spectacles. It manifests itself in smaller things. A deserted mountain road, an old house nestled in a thin veil of mist, a rare bus silently navigating a bend in the road, a still burning fire inside a wooden house, or the steady sound of water flowing at the bottom of the valley. This is a place where the pace of life isn't measured by speed. In many Japanese cities, a day might begin with a train schedule, a work hour, and a precise flow of people moving down to the minute. There, time seems like a perfectly orchestrated system. Which train arrives first? Which elevator opens? Which intersection turns green? Which tasks must be completed before the end of the day? But in Iya Valley, time seems to soften. It doesn't run on tracks. It drifts along with the morning mist, the rainy season, the green of the forest, the height of the water in the valley below, and the light of a fire in an old house as evening falls. Here, a path is more than just a road. It's about patience. It's winding because the mountains force it to be winding. It's narrow because the terrain doesn't allow for things to be widened at will. And that's why each journey through the valley feels different. Slower, more cautious, closer to the ground. A bus traveling through Iya Valley doesn't resemble the bustling urban traffic of the past. It's a small sign that the outside world is still connected to this place, albeit not too frequently, not too hastily. It passes along roads nestled against the mountainside, around bends overlooking the deep river, past houses silent, as if accustomed to every passing sound being worth listening to. Inside these old houses, life slows down even more. The wood bears the color of time. The hearth fire is not just for cooking, but also retains a sense of warmth amidst the damp, cold mountain air. Small objects, sliding doors, worn floors, dimly lit corners, all speak of the fact that here, people don't live to show off to the world. They live by the repetition of ordinary things. Light a fire. Open. Walking up the familiar slope. Check the weather. Listen to the sound of water. Waiting for a new season to arrive. And it is precisely these ordinary things that make Iya Valley so special. In an increasingly fast-paced world, places like this make you realize that not every slow pace of life is outdated. Sometimes, living slowly is the only way to survive in a landscape that doesn't allow for haste. Iya Valley does not resist the passage of time. It just isn't moving at the same pace as the rest of the world. And perhaps that's why, when people come here, they don't just see a beautiful valley. They see a more subtle question. While everywhere else strives for speed, convenience, and brightness, is there still any value left in communities that live to the rhythm of the mountains, the rivers, the mist, and the fire? In Iya Valley, the answer is not spoken aloud. It lay amidst the rustling of old wood underfoot, in the thin wisp of smoke rising from the roof. The bus sped past and disappeared around a bend. And in the profound silence of a valley, there is still a way to keep human life small in the face of nature. There is a very quiet paradox in the Iya Valley. In the past, its remoteness made it difficult to live here. Today, it is precisely that remoteness that makes it so appealing. In the past, the narrow roads, deep rivers, steep mountain slopes, and distance from major centers made Iya Valley seem like a land isolated from the rest of Japan. Getting there wasn't easy. Living there was even harder. Everything required time, effort, and patience. But in a world so accustomed to speed, hard-to-reach places are beginning to acquire a different kind of value. People come to Iya Valley not just to see a suspension bridge. They came seeking to experience a less noisy Japan, a Japan outside the usual tourist routes, a Japan not defined by billboards, crowded train stations, 24-hour convenience stores, or cities that function with the precision of machines. They came here because they wanted to see the mountain mist. I want to hear the sound of water in the valley below. I want to walk across a bridge where each vibration reminds my body that the world used to be so much more fragile. And that is the paradox. What was once an obstacle has now become an attraction. What once caused a place to be forgotten is now the reason it deserves attention. Isolation, once a challenge in life, is now seen as a form of beauty. But the story isn't simply about tourism erasing the past. Nor can we say that every step from the outside is a bad thing. In many places like Iya Valley, tourism can be a way to preserve old houses, maintain bridges, keep local stories told, and give small communities more reasons to remain on the map. The issue lies in balance. When a place becomes popular for its solitude, what happens if more and more people come to visit? When a bridge that was once a vital artery becomes a tourist attraction, will people still see within it the memories of past footsteps? When a village is called hidden, how long can it remain hidden? Iya Valley doesn't offer an easy answer. It presents the viewer with a beautiful and fragile image, a valley that once existed thanks to its isolation from the world, now loved by the world precisely because of that isolation. And perhaps what makes this place memorable isn't the fact that it was found. The question is, once found, how much of its original silence will it retain? There are places that don't disappear in a single day. They disappear very slowly, not by an earthquake, a storm, or a major event that would make the news, but by much smaller things. A wooden door that no longer opens in the morning, a road with fewer footprints, an old roof that needs repairing, but there aren't enough people left to fix it. A fireplace that used to burn every evening, now just a dark void in a silent house. In mountain villages like those in Iya Valley, fragility doesn't always manifest as desolation. Sometimes it manifests as prolonged silence. One house still stands there. One path still remains. A bridge still spans the river. But the life that once gave those things meaning is becoming increasingly rare. That's what gives the beauty of Iya Valley a subtle melancholy. The valley isn't beautiful just because of its blue river, deep mountains, stilt bridges, or mist. It's beautiful because everything here seems to be trying to hold on to an old rhythm of life, while the outside world has changed so rapidly. The villages on the mountain slopes need more than just to be seen. They need people to light fires, open doors, walk up the slopes every day, repair roofs after the rainy season, and remember the names of every small path, every bend, and every patch of arable land amidst the steep terrain. A village ceases to be a village simply because there are still houses. It's a village because there are still people speaking. There's still smoke from the kitchen. And then there are those familiar footsteps. And then there are the stories that are told and retold, from old to young, from one season to the next. And when young people leave the mountains to seek a more convenient life in the city, when old jobs are no longer enough to sustain a family, when a house is only opened on a few occasions each year, then the disappearance begins to happen in a very quiet way. It's not the disappearance of the landscape. Rather, it's the disappearance of the rhythm of life. This is the most fragile part of the Iya Valley. Visitors can come, walk across the bridge, take a picture, look down at the green river, and feel like they've touched an ancient Japan. But a place doesn't live by its outward appearance alone. It lives by the people who stay, by those who accept winter, by someone familiar with mountain roads. They understand that a house on a hillside is not just architecture, but the memory of a family, a community, and many generations who have clung to the same mountainside. Therefore, when we look at Iya Valley, we are not just looking at a beautiful valley. We are faced with a very difficult question. How can a place keep itself alive when the things that give it its soul are gradually diminishing? There's probably no simple answer. But one thing is clear. If vine bridges once helped people cross deep rivers, today, Iya Valley needs a different kind of bridge. A bridge connecting preservation and real life, tourism and respect, the old memory and the future of the villages still clinging to the mountainside. Because a place like Iya Valley needs to be preserved more than just as a scenic spot. It needs to be preserved as a living thing. In the end, every story in Iya Valley seems to revolve around the bridge. The suspension bridge still stands there, between two cliffs, with the turquoise river flowing through the valley below. It still trembles when someone walks across it. It still evokes a feeling that is both beautiful and unsettling, drawing people closer to the depths of nature. But after passing through villages clinging to the mountainside, after seeing the old roofs, the narrow roads, the hearths, the infrequent buses, and the silence of the gradually dwindling mountain villages, the bridge was no longer just a simple image. It became a dividing line. On one side is the past, a time when people crossed bridges not to experience, but to live, when every vine was a part of daily life, when the bridge connected houses to roads, villages to villages, and small communities together amidst a fragmented landscape. On the other side is the present, when people from all over the world come to experience the hidden beauty of Japan. They walk across the same bridge, look down the same river, hear the same sound of wood under their feet, but the meaning of their footsteps is different. In the old days, people passed through to continue their lives. Today, people pass by to touch the memories of that life. And perhaps it is this very change that makes Iya Valley so moving. The suspension bridge here doesn't just connect the two banks of the river. It connects two eras. An era when humans lived off the mountains, the forests, and relied on patience and adaptability. And an era when, having become too caught up in speed and convenience, humans began to seek out places like Iya Valley to remember that the world was once slower, more fragile, and closer to nature. Each step on the bridge is therefore more than just a movement in space. It is a movement in time, from the present back to the past, from tourism back to survival. From a beautiful photograph, we return to a deeper question. What makes a place truly alive? As the bridge gently vibrated beneath their feet, it felt as if not only the bodies of those crossing it were moving, the very memory of the valley was vibrating, softly, slowly, but enough to remind them that places like Iya Valley didn't exist to serve as a backdrop for the modern world. They exist as witnesses. Witnesses to a time when humans lived smaller before the mountains. Witnesses to communities that once clung to the terrain with unwavering patience. And it bears witness to the question that every ancient land faces when it is discovered by the world. How can I open the door without losing my soul? Iya Valley did not respond verbally. It responded by saying, the bridge was still there. The river continues to flow. Mist still covered the mountains in the morning. And with that indescribable feeling when one stands in the middle of a suspension bridge, looking down at the deep blue water below, one understands that some bridges take us more than just across to the other side. They take us back to a lost part of time. Perhaps what makes Iya Valley special is not that it has been forgotten by time, but here, time can still be seen. It rests on old vines strung across the turquoise river. It lies on wooden planks that gently sway underfoot. It lies among houses clinging to the mountainside, in narrow paths winding along the cliffs, in the smoke rising from cooking fires amidst the mist, and in the profound silence of a valley that once lived in isolation from the outside world. Iya Valley is not the Japan that most people initially imagine. It wasn't brightly lit. No need to rush. Don't try to prove you're modern. It simply exists quietly in the mountains, like a remaining memory of a country that has moved far into the future. And that's why people tend to linger here longer. It's not just about admiring a bridge covered in vines. It's not just about taking a picture of a beautiful river. It's not just about calling it Hidden Japan. But one must ask, as the world moves faster, are slower-paced places holding on to something that we have inadvertently lost? Iya Valley doesn't give us a clear answer. It only left behind images. A bridge swayed gently in the wind. A village nestled precariously on the side of a mountain. The road was deserted after the last bus had passed. An old house still had some light in it. A river still flows at the bottom of the valley, as it has flowed through generations of people who have lived here, left, returned, and called this place home. There are places that become famous because they are so vast. There are places that are remembered for their grandeur. But Iya Valley is memorable in a different way. It is memorable because of its fragility. For here, beauty is inseparable from the fear of disappearing. Tranquility is inseparable from the feeling of sparse population. And the vine-covered bridges are not only symbols of the past, but also a reminder that every small community needs some way to continue to be connected to the future. If those bridges once helped people cross the deep river, today, the Iya Valley needs other, invisible bridges. The bridge between tourism and respect, between conservation and real life, between those who come to admire it and those who stay to preserve it, between a Japan that has rapidly advanced into modernity and a Japan that remains silent in its mountains. And as the evening mist descends upon the valley, as the vine-covered bridge gradually fades into the green of the forest, perhaps one will understand that Iya Valley is not a place where time stands still. Time continues to pass, but here it flows more slowly. Slow enough for people to hear the sound of the water. Slow enough to see the smoke from the kitchen. Slow enough to feel a bridge vibrate beneath your feet. And slow enough to remember that, sometimes, the places forgotten by the world are precisely the places that help people remember how close they once lived to nature, to memories, and to silence. If you want to delve deeper into places less visible on the map, sign up and follow us. In the next episode, we'll travel to another land, a place where humans still live amidst beauty, isolation, and time.